Nordo in for PA, holiday/vocal maintenance in play. Brett Blakemore is with me producing. Thank you to Brett. And a football feast with a soccer bent to it in large part today, and that kicks off. And, of course, LaMelo Ball and the Wolves, still very much a talker, still very much a part of the equation today. Christopher Hine, who covers the Minnesota Timberwolves, he's going to be with me during the 10 a.m. hour. Text 64686. Always appreciate him, even if you're hating on me. And the Talkback Machine, free iHeartRadio app. Hit that microphone. Give us up to your best 30 seconds. In studio now, courtesy of Minnesota United FC, Manny Lagos. It's been 2 weeks, but I appreciate you hanging out with me in studio again.
Love it. Love it. What a 2 weeks we've had. Been great. By the way, I went to Seattle to watch the U.S. game there. I think I was pumping that up for you. Better than I talked about. It was unbelievable. Great win against Australia. The energy, the stadium.
What was you obviously you didn't run out before country roads.
Oh God, no.
How good was that?
Oh my, it was unbelievable. I mean, just even the walk to the stadium and that urban core with all the fans. And again, this is a different World Cup. I mean, America and the U.S. are just being embraced by everybody, and they're soccer fans. And shout out to Seattle, great soccer city. I mean, they really put on a show. And then after the game, well, first of all, the game itself, the pride of how well we played, particularly in that first half where we just did a beatdown, just like lockdown, didn't let Australia move the ball, created chances, got up 2-0. And then after the game, I just think people didn't want to leave. They wanted to have that feeling and sing songs and be together.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the way. I mean, America, it's special, it's different. We are Americans. We're hosting this tournament. But you've seen that kind of throughout, and it's mostly logged and kind of, encapsulated by what you're seeing on social media. But I'm walking around. I'm at a movie with my kids earlier this week, and there's like a German family. There's 6 or 7 of them, all kitted up in German gear, speaking German to each other. So I'm imagining that maybe they're in town. Some Scottish fans out by where I live in Chaska, these little pockets that become massive groups taking to the streets. Like the culture overload here is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. The Dutch takeover yesterday in Kansas City, if you can go look up some like Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff.
Their dance bit?
It was insane yesterday in Kansas City. But back to the U.S. Like, I know we're going to talk about the game last night, but I'm still on a high about how well we've started this tournament, how well we've played. And, it's a huge asterisk last night because we had 9 subs, I think. So a lot of rotation because we had already won the group and we had to keep guys healthy. You and I talked about yellow cards. We couldn't play our guys that had yellow cards.
No chance.
No way that you could even put those guys at risk for not being available for the round of 32, which the U.S. is on to the knockout rounds now.
Yeah, and I do want to get to the tournament at large because the cool thing about this, we've all been chasing. I don't know if you did it. I did it. Terrible idea. So the FIFA has this massive 90-some page PDF that's available online.
I did not do that.
For all the regulations. There are 495 different combinations of third-place team groupings that would tell us which team we're going to play. Well, I spent 25 minutes trying to go a beautiful mind on it, couldn't figure it out. It turns out basically 99% of it was all written in stone. If Bosnia finished in third place, they were going to be the team that we see on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But as it's now starting to shape up, potentially cool path for the United States, but cool path for some other teams as well.
Oh, yeah.
But we have to get to this first.
Chance for a cross, comes back to the top of the box. Now it's clipped in at the backside. Matt Turner, it's stopped home. Turkey has scored the winning goal in the 98th minute. They might be going home tomorrow, but they're going wild now.
So throughout all that, first off, we get the early one from Trusty. Loving that. Okay, this
on board, looking good.
Yeah. Berhalter later, cool to see him get a tally.
Unbelievable. I thought he played great, by the way. He really played well, I thought.
Well, and that's one of my favorite parts about you being in here is not just because I love talking about this sport with you, but I know that you have the player eyes and the coaching eyes with some of this. So when they put this thing together, it's a friendly. They got absolutely dominating results in the first 2. Every 6 days, I'm arguing this is still kind of a momentum thing because if you're a Christian Pulisic, it was important to me to see him on the field.
Huge for all of us. I mean, again, and not just on the field. He made some runs that said that calf is healthy and he's going to be ready for this round of 32.
So those are the machinations that are going through my head, and I'm sure yours and most fans of the game. But with how he put that thing together, it did feel, in some of its necessity with the yellow cards, but like a massive gear down with some of the positioning that he put out there on the field and ultimately what he offered against Turkey last night.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few little gripes. I will say, I thought it was a great game last night. For what you said, kind of a friendly for both teams. I loved how wide open it was. I loved that we scored first, and then we got the reality that Turkey's actually a pretty darn good soccer country. They were outside of us. Really, a lot of people had picked them to win that group. In fact, I think a lot of people picked them over us. Obviously, the guy who megged Pulisic at the end of the game, he is a rising superstar at Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And Turkey just played with a desperation for like 20 or 30 minutes that just reminded everybody that they have a good team. And I think that just opened up a great game. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the guys in the field last night were guys that are trying to show that they're ready for this coach if they're needed. They're not really our starters. And I actually love the environment. I love the flow of the game, and that we had to be stressed and tested. And we came back, we battled back, we got to 2-2, and then you thought the game was going to die out. You thought it was like, okay, we're going to head on in there. And like I said, Turkey really, really needed to go back home, I think, with a win. And I love talking about soccer in terms of like, there's not always a lot of scoring, although yesterday had a decent amount of scoring. But that means all these little plays matter, and every little moment matters, even up to the 98th minute, the very last kick of the game, you lose. And I actually don't mind our bigger audience of U.S. fans now having both the elation of success for the national team, and also now that, we don't have that feeling again. Like, that sucks. Like, that losing on the last kick like that, you go home, you're depressed, you go to sleep depressed. So, again, I'm waking up today, building up now to saying, what a great group play. Tough loss last night. Some of our guys that were not quite our starters, I didn't think played that well. I would say Pochettino, who I love and has done an amazing job. I didn't love that he went with a back four tactically. I thought that was kind of a little bit of a loop for the guys based on that they've been playing this back 3/5 and really, really doing well with it. So, but again, overall, I thought it was still a great showing for the country to see a great soccer game.
It was great. And that perspective is the right one to have. In the end, I'm waking up. It's on to Bosnia.
Oh,
That's what it is. On to Bosnia.
It's amazing.
And that's going to be next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. But to that end, Brett has heard me say this 100 times, so he's annoyed by me, bored with me. I needed Freeze to play in that game. And you can tell me that I'm wrong. That's fine. But the issue that I had, you mentioned how wide open it was. That was the antithesis, the opposite of what we saw through the first two. It's a tactic situation.
Correct.
And Turkey, by the way, couldn't have counted them out because there's a pride thing. We want to go home with the result. So in some ways, you shouldn't even be surprised that in the 98th minute they did what they did. I needed Freeze to be tested. This is a Turkish squad that put 60-some shots on net or 60 total attempts, I should say, over the first two games. They were shut out in those two games, but you knew they were going to be coming with everything that they had to get a point before they went back to Istanbul. I needed Freeze to feel that. He's back there playing Sudoku for the first two games. And now, I know he's healthy. Health matters. I totally get that. But I just wish I could have seen him tested a bit before things really start flying in the knockouts.
I love it. By the way, your soccer IQ in this one. Ironically, Danny Cruz texted me for the game because I agree that Freeze should start, but Danny was basically saying he's got to play Freeze for that reason. And I go, I think Pochettino is a culture guy, and he's going to kind of want to play the guys that he wants to give them a little bit of taste of the World Cup.
Because Turner's not going to,
and Turner's been around for a while, and I think it was a little bit of, it's been some tough years for Turner, because again, he exploded in New England, then went to Europe, up and down. He's had a really good year last year in New England, and so now he got back in the national team. It was a good battle for who's going to be the starter, and Freeze got it. So long story short, I think you are right. I agree that Freeze, but I also felt like knowing Pochettino, I think he wanted to use this game to give some guys some minutes, but I like your point better. Freeze is not like this, like the top-notch goalie in this tournament. Freeze is a goalie that is really a steady kind of goalie.
Yeah.
That is great because we know what we're going to get. But to your point, if you haven't had that kind of stress, and we played so well those first two games, data analytically is one of the best teams in the tournament, by the way. He hasn't been tested. No. So I'm with you. And then you got Minnesota. We like hot tendies. It's our thing.
It is.
Play them. Let them ride the momentum.
Please. But Danny's the feel-good guy. That's why.
No. Danny was with you. Danny thought You should keep playing
okay.
freeze.
All right, good.
No, so it was great. Danny and you are on the same page. You're like, come on, this guy needs the minutes.
But the culture thing matters too.
Yeah.
And it really does, actually.
Yeah.
And the way this team is played, by the way, in each match, you can tell the culture's very solid in that locker room. Now, with that said, moving forward, I think last night was also instructive. And this is a bit digging into the weeds, but whether it was, man, I'm kind of hard on that Tim Ream selection. I'm kind of hard on XYZ. I think you kind of started to learn last night that the starting 11 that Pochettino has gone with, there are reasons why. That doesn't mean these cats that we saw last night don't have a chance to grow, but I'm really excited to see a full and healthy 11 against Bosnia on Wednesday.
100%. And Ream's been unbelievable. He has been, again, I talk about the data side of the passing forward, progressive passing. He's been one of the best defenders in the entire World Cup of collecting the ball and moving it forward and giving ourselves chances to get offensive momentum going.
Yeah.
I will say, again, my one little thing I'm crabby about is he would have never played Tim Ream in a back four. Tim Ream is getting in his high 30s and physically can't quite keep up with some of the more athletic guys. He needs that back three to cover him a little bit. Yeah. And like I said, I still think last night I would have preferred the guys play the same system, the guys who've done so well.
No, that does make sense. Now moving on to Bosnia, the knockout rounds and such. As this thing has started to play out, you have Canada. Not shockingly, they lost. Swiss are a good team.
Good team.
And there are a lot of Canadians that are mad today, and we're mad to find out that by not winning their group, they now have to play in the United States for their knockout games. Mexico knew the rules. Mexico knew what they needed to do, and they finished their assignment with class, dominating.
Let's go, U.S. too. We won our group.
We won our group. But what have you thought of Jesse Marsch? What have you thought of Canada and their opportunity here as they enter the knockout? They get their first victory, and it's just a thrashing of Qatar. What have you thought of our fellow hosts as we move into the knockouts?
Yeah, if we're going to our fellow hosts of the North and our friends and neighbors of the North, I'm really excited for them as a country because there's a couple things that are really important here, history-wise. They got their first point ever in the World Cup against Bosnia. Then they get their first win ever against Qatar, and they come up against a really good
team. It is Qatar, by the way. Sorry to clown.
It's Qatar, yeah.
Qatar, okay. Yeah, that's my fault.
We got Czechia, we got Qatar now, we got Turkey. There's a lot of them that I've had to kind of my brain has to kind of think about more, yeah. And they basically now are in a place where getting to the 32 was a massive result for them. This is a really good team. I still think this is the best team that Canada's ever put together for a World Cup. And I think they're in a place where they got reminded that they have to do the little things well. And even if the country's behind them and they're going crazy, now they have to leave Canada. They go to LA. And unfortunately, they don't get their games in Canada. But at the same time, they got South Africa, which, credit to South Africa. Amazing story there as well. Yeah. But that's a great round of 32 for them. That's a good matchup for them. And again, I still think Canada has another good chance, just like the U.S., just like Mexico, of getting to this round of 16. Yeah,
Mexico, by the way, has been terrific, and they're well. I'll get to Mexico in a second.
Yeah, but by the way, the one thing I was going to say about Canada, I really liked about the Jesse Marsch there is, he is sometimes a tough bill. He's very energetic. He's not very Canadian in that, like, he's very demonstrative and on the sideline and goes crazy. Yeah, and he's just
him and the Ecuadorian manager are going toe to toe for mannerisms on the sideline and moments of excitement.
Exactly, and I like this line. I'm stealing from somebody. It's not like Canada's adopted Jesse. I think they both kind of adopted each other is the way I would look at it. And I think that's kind of cool because he is a tough pill for, I think, a lot of Canadians in terms of like his just being out there on the sideline. They're usually a little bit more like kind of that nice quality. But it's been great. I think he's really gotten a kind of energy and moxie for Canada that they haven't felt. And, it's a little similar to the U.S. I mean, a little bit different in that I feel like we have a better roster and our guys have even, I think as a team, we played even better, Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that believe that we have a better chance to make a run in the World Cup. But he's done a great job.
He has indeed. Now, I wasn't going to bring up South Africa, but 2 weeks ago, you're in studio and there's the cool story. Teammate of yours. And you have the South African shirt on.
Signed by Nelson Mandela, yeah.
That's unbelievable.
That was amazing, yeah.
Well, what we saw at 2 p.m. that afternoon was a South African team that was not ready to participate in competition. It was nothing short of a disaster, 2 or 3 red cards in the game. That's one of the stories. And I mean, again, digging into the weeds, but how they pulled themselves up off the mat. I believe it was a draw against Czechia. They get the big win over Korea. They're moving into the knockouts now to face Canada. but that's how it's, we would love to start the way the U.S. did, but there is still a pathway from a disaster to a triumph, and South Africa found that.
And deserving. Like, they battled and played a pretty darn good. I thought a draw was a fair result against Czechia. You're going against Korea. Nobody thinks they can touch them. They think Korea is just going to run over them, and they played great. They defended well. They attacked over the span of the game. They just started to take it over. And, in Korea right now, there's a lot of pressure on that team to say, what is going on? This is
Son's
not
last
good enough.
ride, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. And he's, it's funny. He obviously plays at LAFC, and there was some red flags about what his level was at, based on that. He has not scored a goal yet this year, 14 games. So his level has seemed to dropped over the last 5 or 6 months.
I haven't looked at this stat, so I'm going simply off the fact that I DVR and watch I think I've watched parts of every game, and
do we say DVR still? Because that's good. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, I got YouTube TV.
Okay,
but DVR, I'm a little bit of an old head.
No, me too. I like that.
At least you don't say TiVo or anything.
Yeah, I never had a TiVo.
No.
TiVo was beyond me at that stage in life. But offside. The lack of connectivity up top with Korea has doomed them from minute one. And just I would say the lack of connectivity, lack of awareness has really plagued them. And that was for me, it's not, when you look at sleepers, I look at Korea. I think Japan has showed themselves in a big way.
I think people are saying, Korea and Japan. I kind of told people there's a big difference between Japan and Japan is outstanding. Japan is a team that can really make a run. They're really, really good.
They're a squad, and I was completely wrong about Korea because that's been just a complete mess really throughout. And I'm trying to scramble to find the actual points they have here, but they
got 3 points.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think
they'll make it. Again, that's where you go to your 400-page document that I don't understand for third place teams. But 3 points, I think them and Scotland, I think, are in big trouble.
Yeah, because Cabo Verde could jump into the mix here later today.
Exciting.
And beat Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Oh, that'd be unbelievable.
The other big game today is New Zealand. Obviously, Michael Boxall. They have a point, and they've got to get a win against Belgium, which is a tough task, but I'd love to see that happen. I'd love to see them. They've been battling hard, and they had a great game, their first game, a great tie against Iran in LA, and then I was actually at the game in Vancouver where they were up 1-0 against Egypt, a really good team. The second half, Egypt took over. Mo Salah was unbelievable.
Just dominated,
got to see him score live, and they lost 3-1, but they still have a chance. Now, again...
Did you just go on a game tour over the last week?
I just went on 2 games. 2 games.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, with the family. It was, surreal trip. So
Boxall, before Brett's got something here, so I don't want to clomp on him, but Boxall's been with you since you went MLS. Is
10
that
years.
accurate? Longest tenure.
Longest tenure. We got our 10-year celebration this summer. We're going to have a huge celebration we're going to bring back a bunch of guys for over the 10 years that have played significant role.
Yeah.
He's been unbelievable. He's our captain. He's
so cool. I remember used to do podcasts with you and stuff like that. Yeah. I got to meet Boxall a couple of times. Yeah. He's just an incredible dude.
Yeah.
He's later in his career, and the Kiwis are in trouble, but we want them to
do well.
The perpetually underwhelming Belgian squad.
Yeah, they remind me a little bit of us back in '94, man. They just battle and work hard, and sometimes they forget to kind of keep it compact and tight. They've gotten leads in both games, and they've kind of allowed themselves to still try to play that same kind of style where they want to go forward. They want to kind of go 1v1 all over the field. And again, as you get to the higher level teams, you just can't get away with that. So I hope tonight against Belgium, which has been horrible, by the way. Belgium has not scored a goal in this World Cup.
They're terrible.
Is insane. Yeah.
They're terrible.
But they're not terrible in the long run. It's a really high level team that could break out. I hope it's not tonight, but that's an exciting game tonight as well.
I want to get back to Belgium, but Brett.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up is I'm looking at the best third place team standings right now.
Oh, what is it currently?
So basically the people in trouble from 5 down, because it's the 8 best third place teams. So 5 down is Croatia, South Korea, Algeria, Scotland. If everything ended today, they would be advancing. They all have 3 points, but chasing them was still a game to play.
Cabo Verde.
Wow.
Belgium, the Congo, and Senegal. They are all, Cabo Verde's at 2 points. Belgium's at 2 points. So, Belgium gets a result today, even 1 point, and that could kick maybe a Scotland out, maybe an Algeria out.
Okay, this is what's great, because I'm going to say something, and then Manny, Lagos, you're going to tell me that I'm dumb. I think that this Belgium squad, over the totality of this so-called golden generation. And we saw them, and they got the best of us. World Cup 2014.
Amazing, yeah.
Julian Green with the equalizer, goes to extra time, and then Lukaku. And now we're talking again.
Still
Lukaku,
on the team.
Still on the team, but 12 years younger. He found a little space, finished it, and our World Cup was over. That's the problem when I look at Belgium. So, you know what? Belgium, go win today.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go beat Bosnia. You'll go beat whoever you're matched up with, and we'll see you in the round of 16. And our squad is completely different. Our squad is younger. You are listless. All you guys do is waffles, okay? It's a little hyperbolic, but you've watched that, and it's if you're up against them, you want to beat them. However, it is when you have the quality of talent that they have had, guys that have showed up for their clubs. We've talked about it before. It's like, Pulisic's a great example. When he puts that American shirt on, that kid's different. 100%. And he's bounced around and he's had his trials and tribulations overseas, but when the flag's on the chest, it's different. It's almost been the opposite with Kevin De Bruyne and again, big timers. Courtois. Well, Courtois actually been generally good all over.
Yeah.
But the golden generation, and it's kind of slipping for them.
It massively is. And I think it probably ended up being there defensively. They weren't quite strong enough to really win the World Cup when you had De Bruyne, when you had Hazard. They had an unbelievable team. And you're right.
And it was hard.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So I would say be careful, though, because, again, they have some young guys that are trying to make that come back. But you're right. They still do look like they're a team that lost in that window where they really could have won it all. And now they're trying to figure out what their new identity is. I would say let's be cautious about judging too much any team. When I look at what happened yesterday with Ecuador and how they beat Germany, and they literally tied against, was it Cape Verde? Yeah. It was Cape Verde. They tied.
No, not in that group.
Wasn't Curacao.
Yeah, I think it was Curacao.
Curacao, they didn't even score a goal. And really, you're like, you got to go out of the tournament. But they obviously battled back and beat Germany. And I think they're going to be potentially a force to win a couple games here in the knockout rounds. Speaking
of Curacao, thinking about that, Cabo Verde, I've brought them up a couple times. Like, those are the cool stories. Newbies Amazing. To the group. Hasn't worked out for the other two newbies. How about like Fabio Cannavaro coaching Uzbekistan?
It's amazing.
Like, just some of these names
2006
popping up.
World Cup champion.
Yeah, just one of the great defenders of the last quarter century plus for Italy. I should say quarter century ago, given they don't qualify for World Cups anymore. But back in the day, they were pretty good.
I'll give you another cool shout out this World Cup that I wasn't expecting. And actually, if you think about it, in the early 90s, Cameroon and Nigeria kind of had a couple great World Cups in 90 and 94. And in 30, 40 years, they're going to be winning a World Cup. It's kind of slowed down. It's almost like, God, we thought Africa would win a World Cup by now. Going into this tournament, I thought they were really going to struggle, the African countries. I thought they were kind of like, they have all these good players, but they can't always come together. I think the African countries have done a really good job in a way that I was not expecting. Particularly, like, they're very structured, they're very organized, they're very tough to break down. You had the England-Ghana game where, Ghana just looked great defensively. They didn't allow any kind of expansiveness. And I've been really impressed with that continent's performance so far in this World Cup.
Well, and that's kind of the story. I think the most teams in history coming out of Africa. I think a total of 10 nations. And I'm trying to think, is it Mbappe who had a Cameroonian? Yes, I think his father was Cameroonian.
Yeah.
And so there's a gentleman named Papa, and he's from Ghana, and we've had him in studio a couple times talking about this, and it's kind of interesting hearing the perspective, not just that the entire country of Ghana, any of these African nations, everything freaking stops.
Yeah,
for
amazing.
2 hours.
It's amazing
to see their anthem, hear their anthem on television, to see their team representing on the biggest stage. But Papa was kind of laying this out where an issue they have in Africa now is big clubs, your Tottenhams, your Arsenals, et cetera. And this is Nigeria. It's all over the continent. Is they are setting up academies in these countries.
100%.
And so you have the 15-year-old kid, and we know economically there are some struggles over there, right?
Correct.
And so that 15-year-old kid is something. He can be something.
Yep.
They sweep him up into their academy system. Hey, we're going to buy your parents an apartment in London, and we're going to set you up, and your son's going to have the best possible opportunity. And so he kind of painted a picture, and he even referred to it a bit as brain drain, or at least, in terms of soccer. But that's what's impressed me so much about Africa as well, is that there's a combination. So the talent is building.
Yep.
Sadly, by exporting it to then maybe re-import it.
Yep.
But whether it's an Mbappe who has a Cameroonian father, he chooses to play for France instead of Cameroon. You have a lot of these guys that go, but then they come back.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pride there, and that's something that I've really appreciated too.
There has one of my favorite stories, the Ivory Coast, or Côte d'Ivoire. I don't think they want to be called Ivory Coast.
Côte d'Ivoire?
Côte d'Ivoire. Yes,
Okay.
they want to have their French name. This kid, Diamande, who was born in the Ivory Coast and then came over and lived in Florida, like around 10 or 11, started going to an academy in Florida. And he got done with high school, and then he played for this NPSL team. That's like 5th Division summer soccer.
Yeah.
They were just playing the summer. Just pops. He becomes the MVP there, and everybody's like, oh my God, this kid's amazing. He then tried RSL in the MLS, and this team Leganes in Spain vied for his rights. So just try to sign him and say, we want to buy this young kid and bring him over. He went to Spain. 2 years later now, he is worth $100 million.
Yeah.
His name is Diamande. And he was just,
Crazy.
most of his youth had been in Florida a couple years ago as a high school kid. It's unbelievable.
And their ability to go back and represent, and Côte d'Ivoire has, Yaya Toure and Didier Drogba. Just kind of the equity. Sam Eto'o, of course, would be among
some great names.
The Rushmore of Cameroonian fame.
But that's a good one to watch out for. That's another. I actually thought initially Senegal was going to be the team that might make a run. Right now, Ivory Coast and looks just young and hungry. And I don't think they're a team that most people want to play.
Well, the one I'm looking forward to today, though, let's do this. Let's pause, and then we'll talk about what's next in terms of what we're seeing at the World Cup. I do want to jump in again, just kind of remind ourselves. Can't wait for MLS to get started.
Oh, my gosh.
Again, right?
Yeah, guys are back training. They're in camp. It's been great. Yeah, in fact, hopefully we'll get the guys down to the soccer celebration. That's another thing people should get out to. It's today and tomorrow.
PV Plaza?
Yeah, PV Plaza. And then we're going to be doing the U.S. games as well within the knockout stages. So it's going to be awesome. Man, it's great. Go there, free tickets.
Can't wait. Wednesday night. But when we return, more with Manny Lagos, more on the World Cup. We'll jump into the Loons as we continue a football feast of all varieties. It's Nordo in for PA, the TimberTech set list, not just including Manny, but at 10 a.m., Alec Lewis of The Athletics going to jump in studio with me for a long segment, maybe a little bit of LaMelo, some Vikes Bites. We have a new client here in the stable that we're excited to reveal at 10 a.m., and then Christopher Hine covers the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's going to join me and just help unpack whether it's the draft, excited about the Duke kid, excited about the Purdue kid, but what do we make of this LaMelo thing? How much better did our team get? I'm pumped for LaMelo. Let's see what Christopher Hine has to say. And then Lavelli Neal, the third column to Star Tribune. He's going to be in studio at 11. Brett Blakemore produces. I'm Nordo, of course. It's a Vocal Maintenance Friday right here on The Fan.
You're listening to Eric Nordquist in for Paul Allen on The Fan.
Hey, man.
The Fan's going all out for America's 250th, dropping $250,000 in cash each weekday through July 3rd. You could win your share with $2,500. Just listen for the keyword, entered at KFAN.com, starting at 8 a.m. and plan your ultimate U.S. adventure.
Welcome back. Nordo in for PA 9 to noon. Manny Lagos, Minnesota United FC. Boys are back in town. The training underway. And, I got the chance because you were out in Seattle to see the Americans take on the Aussies. I got the chance to talk with Josh Wolf.
Nice.
World Cup 2002,
Amazing.
Down memory lane.
Former teammate as well. Chicago Fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah. And so it was Fire early, right?
Yeah, we won a championship, 98.
And then he went on, most of his games, I think, were with Kansas City.
Yes, very good.
Wiz and Preki and the whole bit.
And a great
there.
national team player, too. Winger, super fast, quick. Obviously has got a son in MLS who's really, really good.
Both his sons are playing. Maybe one's I forget, second team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but the older one plays for Austin. He's outstanding. Great two-way midfielder. People really think he's going to be going to Europe pretty soon here, just how good he is.
Getting to coach your kid. Think about that.
Pretty cool.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. I'll tell you this. I coached my girls a couple years ago, the U9s. It was fun, and we moved on.
That's good. All right.
But it was a good father-daughter moment. I will say that.
It's probably a little more about you than her, but yeah.
No, that's absolutely. But but talking with Josh and just Loon's back, how do they stay fresh? What's good with them right now? As certainly eyes are on the World Cup, but eventually y'all are going to continue your season and keep the train moving.
Oh yeah, July 22nd we start up again, and so this is a huge couple weeks. It's unprecedented to have this kind of a break during a World Cup. So the guys went away for 3 weeks, which was amazing. They needed that. You know, they had 7 weeks off. It was good for them mid-season to kind of get away with their families, have some vacations. They went all over the country/world. They got back in last week, and now they're really in that kind of preseason mode where it's really dialed in, working hard, extra training sessions, really kind of trying to think outside the box in terms of how do we make sure that we know it's going to be a reset for every team, both in terms of the roster build, but also in terms of how do you prepare for the second half of the season where there's 20 games from now until December, which is going to be a really heavy schedule. So physically, you got to really put the work in now. It's pretty fun. Today, they actually have a really cool kind of inter-squad scrimmage up at Blaine, and then they're having a huge food truck celebration with just their families and kids are coming out afterwards.
Wow.
So that'll be a nice end to a really tough training week. And then next week, they go hard again. And they're going to host Chicago Fire next Friday for a closed door, so fans can't come. Game, and then they'll go to, and then they host RSL the following Wednesday we do, and then we go to Colorado a week before we start playing against Kansas City. So now we're going to start playing some games, closed door games, to get ready for the season, and I'm excited. I think this group, you know, we played through some real adversity in this first half of the season. I think it was the harder part of the schedule and competed really well, particularly on the road. You know, we won more games on the road in a row than we ever have in the history of the club. I think our home form at the end kind of just dropped off. So, you know, I think we were hoping to be in the top 3-ish. You know, we're not. But I think the group is really excited, particularly because we've been so good defensively. And I think our offensive guys are still hungry to get better.
Yeah, sprint to the finish line. That's good. I mean, just effectively you're playing 2 seasons.
Exactly. It really is.
A layoff. So, no, that's going to be fun. July 22nd. It is Sporting Kansas City, right?
In Kansas City,
in KC. And you guys do local watch parties and stuff.
We do, yeah. No, guys get around. I mean, it's great. Our fan base is awesome. I mean, they're very supportive. This is a game I love too because this is one of those drivable games where a lot of our fans will go to the game and you know, it's easy. 6 hours, you're there. You got a big section where the guys see and get supported. It's really hard because in MLS, when it's so spread out, you don't quite always have that same fan base.
And there might just be 10,000 euros left over from the most recent World Cup game there. They just get the whole summer off.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
They live life at our vacation pace overseas. It is a very interesting dynamic. Back to the big tournament. Today might be my favorite game of the group stage, and it's France and Norway.
Oh,
and that's
what a matchup.
That's going to decide the group, and it's actually interesting because I think based on that result, because again, thinking ahead, how things lie up. If the United States beat Bosnia, all jokes aside, Belgium's a good team. If they find a win today and they end up in that spot, and we have to face them, that's going to be a tough game.
100%.
But if we get through that, well, Spain's got a chance to win Group H. If all things played out, Spain might be there. This will decide whether Norway's on our side of the bracket or Mbappe. But the way Mbappe's played, you know, we talked about it last time, like stars showing up. A little rusty for old man Cristiano in the opener, but then he showed himself against a hideous team, so I guess that counts too. But the stars are showing out. Holland in his first World Cup, Norway first time here in nearly 30 years. Like, this, for me, is possibly the biggest marquee game of the group stage.
I mean, it definitely is from a number 9 forwards. You know, I mean, maybe Mbappe is kind of a winger forward. But at the end of the day, you've got an up-and-coming stud Viking that just looks the part and plays the part.
He's a Bond villain.
Yeah, but he's actually a good guy.
He's
he's enjoying his Bond villains. But it's such a good matchup because France is, to me, probably the best team in the tournament on paper. I know some people would argue it's Spain. I think it's France. So we know what they are, and we know how good they're going to be, and we know they're going to make a run in this tournament, and teams are going to have to, the good ones are going to have to beat them to win the World Cup. Norway had the most points in qualifying. They do have probably the best traditional number 9 in the tournament, but they got a lot of guys that are really good working behind him to get him the ball. He wouldn't be that good if he didn't have a good team behind him to actually move the ball, get forward, get numbers forward. This is a great test for Norway. This is for us to find out if Norway is for real about playing at the next tier to say we want to be a World Cup contender.
Yeah.
Because the reality is there should be a lot of skepticism. There's only a couple teams that always win the World Cup. So when you have a Norway pop up, like Belgium did one time, like, ooh, they could do it. I think today is a good test to see if Norway's a serious contender for this World Cup.
Are you still on the English?
I am. I think they got Panama in their third game. I think they're going to probably get through that and win the group pretty easily. But
I mean, technically, everything's just gone according to plan.
Yeah.
Is terrific first victory.
Yeah, that's
weird draw against heavy underdog Ghana battling.
Well, again, this is the test for them now. Is their media is probably turning on them a little bit, which is amazing because they had such a great first game, and I thought Ghana played outstanding. I mean, I thought they just defensively
Ghana's great.
Yeah. So, long story short, I think England's going to come back, and I still think they're one of these teams that I think just has enough in their roster to play against any team in the world.
No, I love that. Now, for Team USA, again, getting everybody back healthy. It's Wednesday at 7 o'clock. The Spanish, has there been any young players that have stood out? Because that was part of my conversation with you 2 weeks ago is I love this tournament because you're going to learn new names.
Yeah. I mean, I brought the one I loved most is Diamande. Again, I think that for Cote d'Ivoire, it's just amazing. And then his story comes back to the U.S. and to Florida. It blows my mind. And it also gives me excitement and hope. Like I said, I think I told you a couple things that the U.S. needs to do really well. We need to continue to fill our stadiums, continue to get all this great talent, create a business model that we can buy and sell players, which we've been doing. Again, one of the things I love about the World Cup is how much respect MLS is now getting globally, and people know it because we have 45 players in the World Cup. We've got a lot of players that want to play in our league because we pay good money, and it's a great place to play. But developing those next phase of stars globally is so important. That's another way to do it. So when I see a kid like Diamande pop, and part of his development trajectory was in Florida, that gets me excited about this country, and it gets me excited about some kids watching this World Cup and dreaming that in 10 or 15 years, they're not just dreaming about playing for the national team. They're dreaming about lifting the World Cup for the U.S.
Yeah, and it's interesting. 45 players from MLS are playing. Sadly, one of the only countries where you're not seeing MLS players pop is the actual U.S. national team in some ways. But whether it's Boxall, you mentioned Diamande's American
you're talking about the
connection.
United team,
in particular, but him doing his thing on the international stage for New Zealand. Yeah, all these guys. We don't have a lot of MLS pop with the Americans right now.
Well, I mean, I think the MLS is becoming such a good league that to compete in this global game, you have to get the best players, and you can't really just say we're only going to sign American players. I mean, it's good to sign American players. Like I said, there's some value play there. There's some culture play there. Particularly when it's a local kid, it's super impactful for all sides. But it has to be about winning, and it has to be about winning championship. And so ultimately, I actually like that it's getting harder for American kids to get in MLS because to me it means that you got to work harder. You got to figure out what's the development pathway, what's going on in your culture, your community. How are you developing kids from literally age 4 or 5 years old? Again, I love Minnesota for a little bit of a template because we don't do it in soccer yet. I hope we will, but we do it in hockey. Yeah. And we start kids really, really young about getting excited and fall in love with the sport, but also getting their kind of technical acumen ready for what's coming if they want to be an NHL player.
Yeah, the technical aspect of it is such an A topic. And you see that the highest of high end, of course, is Messi, where
unbelievable.
I mean, I just can't even believe what I've seen through 2 games, and they got one more to go, obviously. He scored all 5 of their goals. There's an element of that, though, that, you played at a high level. So at a certain point in your career, you don't have that next gear. We were talking about Tim Ream, right? Tim Ream,
100%.
In his head, he knows where to go, but physically, it ain't all there anymore. And so, but with Messi, that would be similar. He's 30, turning 39, I believe, within the next week.
Think, yeah.
Okay, happy birthday to Messi, all right? but to that end, I've never, the instinctual and the intuitive part, he knows what you're going to do with the ball before you do. And it's the most remarkable thing I've ever seen, and that does really have to start at a very young age where it's just 1v1 mentally and it's all connected together.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, the coolest thing about soccer, too, is, you've got some big-time defenders, 6'5", 220, that just, tackle and run and cover ground. And then you got the best player in the world is 5'10", 160. And it's because you can go look at clips of when he was like a little kid in Argentina at 8 years old, just tooling with the ball and doing whatever he wanted. It was like magic, watching him at those ages. Where I think it's cool, too, is that he can't be that good in soccer without his team being street fighters. I mean, he's got 10 guys around him that will die for him.
Have you ever seen that before, by the way? Because it's
not to this extent. Because
this is nuts, man. Like, they're crying on the field when he gets his hat trick. His father's going through some health things, so there's implications there. There were 2 goals in that first game that were Messi's, but it was a teammate who had an opportunity that actually passed it to him. Like, this is an entire tidal wave behind him.
It is. And like I said, in soccer, you got 90 minutes of just this kind of running up and down the field. Now he's talking about how being compact is so important. And so Messi actually can't really do that anymore. So he can't quite get you the compactness defensively. Like, when the ball turns over, if you watch Messi, he actually is walking a lot because he can't quite give you that defensive shape. He just can't run that much anymore. And that means the other guys have to just play with that much harder on all other aspects of the game in the more selfless ways that nobody will see, but they're just running more. They're tackling more. Yeah. They're getting up and down the field more. So then you can put moments where Messi now gets a little time and space, and he's unstoppable still. It's amazing at 39 what he does with that ball and how he can still explode out of certain spaces and find ways to create chances.
I just can't believe, like, Lautaro wants to score goals and be and be a superstar. And by the way, he's making a fair dollar doing his thing as it
100%.
is. I just, the selflessness, it
blows my mind.
And unprecedented.
Again, yeah, and it's been, like I said, this has kind of been a cool World Cup. And when they had Messi, Haaland, and Mbappe all playing on the same day and all pushing for what we call the golden boot, which is the most goals in the tournament. Great marketing, great stuff by FIFA to put them all playing on the same day.
I took a flyer on futures on Yamal.
I love this.
On Lamine Yamal. And he came in as a sub, played 20 minutes. He did get a goal, of course, early on, like 10th minute in the second game. Good luck, Lamine. I might as well just tear up that ticket now. It's become very apparent that there is a race to France, Argentina again, based on what we saw in that final 4 years ago. These old timers are, I don't know if they're chasing ghosts, chasing records, whatever they are, but he's got a long way to go to catch the old timers.
I know, but don't count Spain out. This is a marathon. Spain had a great bounce back game after a really tough tie. This game tonight will be important because Uruguay is going to be desperate and they're going to play hard. And to be honest, if Uruguay loses and it'll get ugly. Like they don't go down. They tend to like get physical and get upset if they can't get through the qualifying or the group stage.
Well, I mean, they don't have Suarez anymore, so at least we know no one's going to get bit.
No one's going to get bit, but there might be some tough tackles tonight for Lamine if they do what they probably will do.
Hey, thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking about this again and just digging into this. Hopefully, maybe in a couple weeks after the 4th. So if they beat Bosnia, that game's that Monday night, the 6th. Yeah. That would be the round of 16 match. And then it just starts cooking.
It starts cooking. And Nordo, again, I know I need to plug this because this has been one of my favorite, coolest things about the fact that we don't have the World Cup hits me hard. I really do. Now that I've gone to these other cities, I just see these cultures walking around. Super bummed. But what I do love is what's going on downtown during these games, these soccer celebrations.
Yeah.
Again, Minnesota United, the organization stepped up. They really worked with Minneapolis. They really invested a lot of money and energy and time into giving this experience, and it is awesome. Like I said, the tickets are free. It's been packed. We've kind of partnered with Brits, so
it's been huge, actually.
Yes, it's been just awesome. And if you ever can't get to a game and you're watching all this Instagram and this stuff, go down there for the U.S. game or go down there the next 2 days just to see these different cultures that live in Minnesota that come out. Ecuador fans were crying at PV Plaza yesterday.
Really?
Literally stayed for half an hour and danced just because they thought they were out of it. They thought there's no way. We hadn't even scored a goal yet. Next thing you know, they beat Germany for the first time ever, one of the biggest soccer countries in the world. So get down there. It's super cool.
Well, and, Ecuadorians crying. They didn't know other people scored for their country except for Enter Valencia. So they were shocked to see two others find tallies yesterday.
Yeah, I love those subs yesterday. And it was funny because I'm friends with Landon Donovan, who was calling the game. He's like, I don't know if they should have done that. Enter's like, I'm the only guy who can get goals. Next thing you know, coach made a good move there.
Yeah.
Really good move.
It worked out. Hey, thanks again.
Likewise.
And check out PV Plaza, watch parties, MNUFC.com, You can find out all the intel, kicking off against KC again, July 22nd. But in the meantime, soak it in. The parties have been unbelievable.
Awesome.
And they'll continue to go on. That's Manny Lagos with Minnesota United. When we return, we'll get to some text messages. 10 a.m., Alec Lewis will be in studio. Nordo in for PA on The Fan.
You're listening to Nordo in for PA on The Fan.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One,
is coming back to life.
White, Guns N' Roses, Chris Stapleton, and plenty more. You can enter today, KFAN.com, keyword contests.
Welcome back. It's Nordo in for PA 9 to noon. And this is super truncated. And then we're going to jump to Alec Lewis, The Athletic. He's in studio. But I wanted to welcome, courtesy of Kinmount Exteriors, KinmountExteriors.com. And Kinmount is a company that's now going to be sponsoring Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites.
There we go, Brett. My goodness. At least try to play along.
Sorry.
Just super thankful for the opportunity to meet these guys and support Vikes Bites on a daily basis. And you know, with the purple, we're going to talk about it next segment, regardless of whether it's directly Vikings related, maybe it's Vikings adjacent, as this interesting and potentially awful story unfolds for a player with the Detroit Lions. That there are always things that we get to talk about. Really, the identity of this radio show with PA, as it's been for years, is the Minnesota Vikings and how proud and excited we are, not just to talk about our favorite football team, but put them on the radio on a weekly basis during the season. So Vikes Bites has been a fun segment we've been doing for nearly a handful of years now. And Kinmount Exteriors, home exterior services, no headaches. It's clear. It's clarity and honesty that Kinmount Exteriors really prides themselves on, not to mention just great work. That's really the key to it, right? The finished product is beautiful. You're getting no hidden costs and just that clear quote promise that Kinmount Exteriors provides: roofing, gutters, decks, siding, windows. It's KinmountExteriors.com. And they're going to be bringing us Vikes Bites all the way through the 2026 season and potentially beyond. And that's going to be where we start the conversation next segment with Alec Lewis. Hey, Ryan Grigson, what is it that he did here? What would you say you do here? Well, now he's on to the Cleveland Browns. What does that mean as the finishing touches are made on the front office for the Minnesota Vikings? I alluded to it just about a minute ago. Terrion Arnold is finding himself in a deep vat of boiling hot water. What does that mean for the Kitties, which then in turn, what does that mean for the NFC North and the Minnesota Vikings? Some purple-centric talkers are going to kick us off, and it would be Vikes Bites, brought to you by Kinmount Exteriors, KinmountExteriors.com. Welcome to, as PA would call it, the Love Covenant. Just really thankful for the chance to work with you guys, and I appreciate your support of 9 to noon and Vikes Bites on a daily basis moving forward. With that said, thank you, Vikes Bites. Thank you, Kinmount Exteriors. When we return, we're going to jump into some of those Vikings heavy topics with The Athletic's Alec Lewis in studio next.
It's Eric Nordquist in for Paul Allen on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by the new